So here you've got your different pads. I hit edit. I can go to pad control, change the dynamics. Dynamics on. If I turn it off, then it's not velocity sensitive. Tempo sync. It can sync to tempos within its own thing. You can change the MIDI note. Of course, you can change the sound it creates as well. So like wave A, I've got a certain hi-hat sound. I can change that to that's cool. Those are all internal sounds. But then I can also, they're velocity sensitive, so I can change, it's got a second. Depending on how hard you hit it, you get a different sample right out of the box. You can change those too and do all sorts of fun stuff. So when you're editing the sample itself, you can determine what kind of sample it is. If I want it to be a loop or so type, this is called a phrase. I can also do single. So that depends on, some it's within the patch itself, others it's within the file itself.
You had one setting there where you hit it twice and it played on top of itself.
Yeah.
Did that do that?
Yeah.
That's
because now it's a single hit. So every time I hit it, it plays. And it only plays once.
It's like cool. So that's a good way to do like layering and stuff.
Yeah. So as we were talking about live performance stuff, in the studio, you don't have to worry about drum bleed anywhere. You just use this stuff depending on what you're doing. You have MIDI capabilities. You can edit stuff. You make a mistake, it's no big deal. You just move the MIDI note. Bam, you have a perfect performance. You hit the quantize button. It automatically lines everything up to that grid. Makes it sound like a robot. Or you hit the humanize thing and it moves things just slightly.
Is there really a humanize in there, seriously?
Oh yeah. You can quantize something, get rid of all the mistakes, and then hit humanize.
That's scary.
It'll move things slightly, depending on how human you want it. It'll change the velocity so that you're never hitting stuff at the same velocity. It'll always
How
change it.
imperfect do you want this to be?
Exactly.
It's pretty nuts.
So that's the whole key. That's the whole difficulty about using electronic drum sets and electronic percussion is it doesn't sound human enough. So a lot of people are trying really hard to make this stuff sound really human. Spend a lot of time like programming stuff. It's one thing to program in. You can, I mean, somebody who doesn't even play drums can just click hi-hats, bass drum. Cool, you've got a basic beat. But to make that sound like it was played by a drummer takes a whole new level of programming know-how.
Yeah.
That or actually playing it in.
Yeah.
Whatever this patch does. Lots of different loops going on there. So this is cool.
Yeah.
You got like different velocities. Hit it harder. You got a second guitar loop happening. This is just the stuff built in.
Yeah.
So lots of fun can be had with these sorts of things. And as I said, they're great for practice tools. We'll go to the next one. A lot of cool stuff you can do practicing with this stuff, especially using the MIDI capabilities compared to the sequencer. You can go in here, hit record. Let's say you have an exercise that you're working on. You want to play it as precise as possible. You got your click there, your tempo is set. You're recording this in. And then you can stop this and check out how even you were, how close you were to the beat.
Yeah.
You guys ever seen a piano roll before?
Yes.
You guys are familiar with that. And then it shows you your velocities, so you can see how hard you're hitting things. If you want like a consistent bass drum hit, you know, okay, this one was 98, that one was 104, that one was 86, that one was 32. Uh-oh. So that's a way of checking stuff. You can see how it lines up in the grid. If you're not happy with it, you hit quantize it, it's perfect. Another thing you can do with something like Logic or GarageBand, any of these DAWs, you load in a song that you want to play along with, and then you can record your MIDI stuff playing along to that song and see how it lines up with the drum pattern. Transcriptions as well. If you're trying to play exactly along with something, or even you're just trying to transcribe it. I mean, you get it in your head, play through that freeze, record the MIDI. Damn, you can put that MIDI into Sibelius or something. Easy way to transcribe.
Too late. Course is over.
Or even just to practice playing along that transcription, making sure you're actually getting the feel and putting stuff in the right place. Using this and that and Sibelius together is a powerful tool.
Yeah.
So you can play in whatever pattern you want, play it along here, hit quantize so that it's perfect and doesn't like do any sort of weird note-wise things, notation-wise. Export it out of here as a MIDI file, put it in Sibelius. There you have written out what you just played. You can also use this using loops, construct new patterns. You can play in one thing at a time. You know, try stuff that way, see what kind of new stuff you can come up with independence-wise. You can also incorporate melodic, harmonic elements. You know. Whatever you want to come up with. All of a sudden you're like, that's kind of a cool idea for a tune. You can change the MIDI settings on here so that you're playing different notes. You can put this all to like a D minor pentatonic or something and play harmonies. And if you want to click on this Akira Jimbo thing, hang on, you'll see what all sorts of crazy stuff can happen. So did you guys see what he had going on there?
Yeah.
A lot. So the melody was was one pad mostly, right? With sequence like next note, next note, next note, next note.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Except for the little
Same with the bass.
modification.
Yeah.
So he was triggering the bass, and it automatically goes to the next sample.
Yeah.
Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
So if he hits it an extra time.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
screwed.
yeah.
screwed.
Or
It's a different
totally
bass line.
changed it. And he had a couple of those there, so you could go to different sections.
That's pretty cool. That's really cool.
Trigger the left foot. I mean, triggering loops.
Yeah.
Triggering different
Yo,
harmony
yo,
stuff.
yo, 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 yo.
I mean, it's
Yeah,
one
so
thing
he
to
had
just play.
the rim set up, so he could use the drums.
Yeah, the rim knock.
Yeah, he was using the drums, the acoustic drum sounds, and then would hit the rim and get those sample sounds.
That's cool.
So,
I'm just like, the thing that I still find, like, I know you're saying it varies. I guess it's just you have to get in there digging. It's finding the access to, like, I wanted to do this here, but for this length, or I wanted to do loop, or I want to just do one, but I want to be able to manipulate
it really varies on what you want to do, you know.
Yeah.
It's just kind of, I'm just trying to give you guys an introduction and show you guys what can be done,
Yeah.
kind of different options there are, just so you know, like, what fits your music, what you want to do with your music, and there are things tools that you can use to make that happen.
I think a lot of your questions would be answered when you get in there. Just get your hands dirty.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, totally.
It's like
That's what I'm
just
saying.
get the thing and start. Well, how do I do this? And you figure it out somehow.
exactly.
You know.
That's really just GarageBand.
a really long process, but it's the best way to learn because you're never going to forget it.
Yeah, just
I've
get
done
it
so
there
many
and dig.
trial
And then
and errors.
once you learn GarageBand, that translates. You can pick up Logic, Pro Tools.
Yeah,
It's just like it's the same
they're somewhat
concept.
kind of similar.
It's the same concept.
Oh, really? All right. You didn't get my
Yeah,
hands on
Logic is just GarageBand on steroids.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what
I
I've
mean,
been told.
once you get the interface down, it's the
Yeah.
same functions, same functionality, a little bit more the feature side of things, a little bit more you can
Sound
tweak,
effect.
more sound
yes.
comes with it, you know.
And some, some pieces of gear like are set up for you to be able to program easily. Like I've got this little trigger finger thing. Have you seen those? It's just a tiny little thing. The only reason I got it is because I wanted something I could just practically stick in my back pocket. It's got 12 pads, but and some faders, so you can
Yeah.
change filters, in Logic.
But that's
Make-
just a MIDI
Make
controller. It
disturbing
doesn't have
sound.
any
All
sounds
it
on
is is a
it.
MIDI controller.
Yeah.
Little tiny thing, but it's set up so that you go into Logic and you go, I want, or Ableton Live, and you go, okay, I want it to start something, hit it, and it sets it up in the interface, in the software. Or I want this fader to control filter on this sound. So you just go in here and go, okay, filter, and it listens, sets up like an event listener, and you go, bloop, bloop, and it's like, okay, I got that.
Learn mode.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and all that you'll know. I mean,
Yeah.
you buy the gear and you spend a couple of hours beating your head against the wall. Oh my God! And you're looking at like some dude on YouTube that's just like doesn't know what he's talking, and then eventually you just figure it out.
Well, that's my whole concept here. I'm trying to put together a resource that there's a lot of spooky, scary things in getting into electronic music at first. You look at some of this gear, and you're like, what does this do? This dude's explaining it to me, but I still have no idea what he's talking about. And to kind of really know everything that they're talking about when they're explaining a piece of gear, like the ins and outs of it, the specifics, you really kind of got to know the basics first.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah,
I'm
this
trying
is
to-
great because this
This is awesome.
you don't have to dig around for
Yeah.
days and days to find out like the basic stuff.
So I'm trying to put together kind of a resource for drummers who want to get into that stuff or learn a little bit more about it. There's this stuff which is kind of like setting stuff up in the basic concepts you need to know, then some stuff about like producing and mixing stuff, and also sequencing and programming and using virtual instruments and all that stuff.
This particular piece of gear too is like so rolling really,
I mean, it came out several years ago and they're still
and
selling
they're still using it. Yeah,
all over the place.
it's great.
Would you recommend that pad as far as true?
I would. There's a few others that they make that only have the dedicated sounds in them. You can't load in your own stuff.
Yeah.
They'll ship with like 800 sounds or something, which is a lot, and they may be stuff that you need, but if you're on a specific gig and say like the artist that you're working with has a certain song and it uses a certain loop or it uses a certain drum sound, that really is part of the song, and you want to have a pad that plays that. If you don't have something like this that allows you to load that sound in, it's useless,
Do you find yourself using sound, like loading in sounds more, or just playing Logic?
Usually it's
Yeah.
Logic.
I mean, I would think, it's such a beast anyway, you might as well
Yeah.
just use what it's got, rather than load stuff in there, because it's like, that's really memory intensive anyway.
Yeah. Plus a
Can only
compact
go so
flash
far.
card. I mean, I don't even know if I have a reader for a compact flash card anymore.
What do you think people are doing mostly on these like pop gigs and hip hop gigs? Are they loading? Or are they using the sounds that come with it?
I think, like, I watch a lot of videos because I have a friend of mine, Rex Hardy, he plays for Mary J. Blige, and he has one of these, and like every time I see him, his MacBook's over here,
Yeah.
his SPDS is right here,
Yeah.
and it's like, yeah, he's
Some of these drum virtual machines, they'll allow you to change the mic placement,
Oh, God.
the overheads,
That
from the
is scary.
snare, how much like the
Can you say
snare
what
top
kind
or
of
snare
head you
bottom
want?
mic.
Can you be like, I want a Remo ambassador?
Not necessarily, but
that'd be pretty insane.
Zildjian now with these Gen 16 things, they've come out with sound libraries of some of their most famous cymbals.
yeah,
And it's like every way that you could think of hitting it,
they got it
bells,
covered.
scrapes, whatever.